Could you do that? I'm just going to turn the volume up. Could you do that one more time?
Can I click my fingers one more time? Yeah, sure I can. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I think that will do it.
Okay, good.
This is a podcast in which two friends talk about the pleasures, absurdities, and imperfections of being human. I'm Simon Ellis.
And I'm Lee Miller. Welcome to Midlifing.
I should just say I'm a little bit woozy because I took some Benylin last night.
Oh, wow.
And
are you still head coldy?
I am.
Oh, my gosh.
And one of the things it says is aids restful sleep. Boy, does it knock you out. Wow. I think I might take it every night.
I like that.
My alarm went off at 6 a.m. I went, that doesn't feel right. And then I woke up and it was 7:40.
Well, I feel woozy and slightly discombobulated, and I probably sound echoey and strange.
Yes, and you're also talking a little quieter because I suspect you're a bit self-conscious about...
I am. I'm in the bathroom of a hotel with Bob asleep on the other side of the door, and in an attempt to try and make it less echoey, I am now putting a towel over my head, so I feel like Michael Jackson.
Wait! Why did Michael Jackson put a towel over his head? Oh yes, when he'd go out in public, he'd so people didn't.
Exactly.
Yes, that's one way to not draw
him.
attention to yourself, isn't it?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So this is definitely going to be one of those episodes that doesn't work. Shall
we quit while we're even?
Oh my God, we should totally do that.
Quit while we're just falling behind.
Yeah, I feel like we're at the point in our podcasting career where we start every episode saying, "Should we just stop recording now?"
Yeah, you don't want to dwell on that too much, do you?
No. Okay, so tell me.
I've still got a head cold. It's really been extraordinary. So phlegmy, and then the other day I had a meeting with a colleague in the office who was wearing a mask because she hadn't felt well, and we'd had in a quite a small room an hour-long meeting, and turns out she's got COVID. But I still can't test positive to COVID.
I'm sorry about that.
I had a couple of vaccines whacked into my arm on Wednesday as well.
Goodness
yes,
me.
at the same time I had a flu one and the fourth COVID vaccine, and that was on top of a head cold. So
you were just doubling down on all the feelings.
And my arm was a bit sore, and then that was it.
Oh.
Yeah. But my news is on Thursday I went to a musical.
Shut up.
I did.
What did you go and see?
I was taken to my sister and Finn and Ruby. Susan bought me a ticket to see Cabaret.
Willkommen, bienvenue, welcome. That one.
That's exactly. I also, just thank you that you knew the lines from the opening song.
I mean, two ladies, two ladies.
There was a song about a pineapple in there.
And
there was a song about a pineapple.
Only man here.
They're all Germans, it turns out, except for the two main people.
Yes, Sally Bowles, and what's the other one called?
Cliff.
It's based on Christopher Thingamajig's life, isn't it?
It's right.
On his diaries.
Yeah, Cliff. His name's Clifford, I think.
Clifford, that's right.
Which makes me think of a dog.
The big red one.
Exactly. But Clifford was a little bit... he was a little bit cardboard cutout, that character. He was not great.
He's only really supposed to be there to bear witness to things that are happening. He's a cipher, isn't he?
Yes, but they kind of turned him into when he sort of had this strange, almost going to hit Sally Bowles, like he sort of stopped himself hitting her and then burst into tears in sort of height of I don't know what you call it in theatre world when a character seems to be a particular way and then suddenly turns into a particularly different kind of character. And it makes no sense. The emotional display makes zero sense at all. I don't know what you call that.
I think it's just there's no technical term for it, a little bit shit.
But it was this tiny little theatre, and we're all sort of all around them, and they wanted us to get there early, which I think was in part to make us have drinks beforehand. And Finn arrived separately, and they kept on shoving little things of schnapps in his face. He said, which I kept drinking, but he didn't realise that schnapps was alcoholic. I swear he was asleep by the end. I swear he was asleep.
Oh, that's superb. So give us your Metacritic rating.
Well, what I'd forgotten and also because Susan's got a let's say I'm just guessing that Susan might listen to this, so she's got a special birthday coming up. I said I was coming to town for the night, and in fact I was going to stay a couple of nights, but the UCU strikes changed those plans, and and she said, "Let's go and see. Would you like to go and see this or this?" And I said, "What about Cabaret?" Partly because I thought, stupidly, that the actor who was originally in it, the redhead actor,
oh God,
yeah, who I really like, of course, and you don't.
Ugh, cannot bear him. But go on.
What's his? Can you tell me his name though?
Oh, yeah, Eddie fucking Redmayne.
So,
I mean,
what is it?
He's like an apology in human form.
Oh, I see what you mean.
His attempt to try and make himself smaller in order to not take up. I don't know. There's just something about the way he functions in the world, and also I don't like the way he performs. There's something. I guess. Okay. He's the definition of insipid to me.
But they seem to be related to his. That seems to be sort of related to that slight. I sort of think of it as sort of foppishness. That
yes,
English foppishness, like a little bit like Mr. Bean, or who's the other one who got caught in the
Hugh Grant.
Thank you. Who got caught in the Hugh Grant?
Yeah. He is quite early Hugh Granty, but without the self-awareness, the irony. He's an irony-free zone from my perspective.
Yes.
And I'm sorry if you're listening, Eddie. You're probably a really nice man. I struggle with your presentation in the world. In contrast, I could watch Jason Momoa all day.
Oh, he's a New Zealand actor, isn't he?
Nope, he's Hawaiian.
Oh, it's very similar.
Yeah. Okay, let's go with that, shall we?
Well, that's where the Maoris originally came from. Was the Hawaiian Islands? They paddled. I think we're gonna have to cut this bit out just in case I'm wrong.
And did you notice how I stayed completely silent?
To make the edit.
I just didn't want to get caught in a moment where I went, did they? So I either sounded ignorant or really, really gullible. So I was just going to sit quietly on the bathroom floor with a towel over my head, waiting until it was over. I mean, ever was it thus? But yeah, I would watch Jason Momoa all day. I was watching a film he was in on Netflix. I've not finished it, so if you've seen it, don't tell me the end, called Slumberland.
Right.
Oh, he's got a really tight T-shirt on and a belly that made me feel very, very happy.
Ah, it's beautiful.
His belly is beautiful, and he was... Because, he's a big guy, and I know how big guys work in the sense that when you see them on films, they've eaten and lifted and eaten and lifted and eaten and lifted, and then 3 days before they stop drinking. And they stop eating, and they do that thing where they just strip all of the water out to make their skin really, really thin so that you can see the veins and the muscles and all of those sorts of things. I understand how the way they look in those superhero type films is not a way that real people can look in real life.
Sure.
So clearly he had decided to not do that in this film.
Oh, beautiful.
So he keeps the muscle mass, but he just has this, this lovely little belly.
Yeah, little croissant belly.
And it was just, I thought it was very beautiful.
By the way, that's absolutely a myth that the Maori came from Hawaii, but they are certainly related linguistically.
Aha, right, gotcha.
Which you can cut all of that out anyway. So I don't. So I don't
leave it all in because you self-corrected. I mean, it's like you're your own auto.
But I'm also just thinking though that it's. I think that's a kind of it's sort of a legend or a myth that I remember sort of being circulated, and I think it was a kind of part of a racist mythology as a youngster, which was, well, the Maori are immigrants as well.
Ah, right, gotcha.
And that they wiped out this other, So they came from Rarotonga, which is another island in the Pacific. But anyway, there's some interesting history there which I don't know, and I should know. I have to say.
Well, there we go. You've got a job for the afternoon, and Jason Momoa is from Hawaii. That's good. And I feel quite bad that I've been so.
Anti-Eddie.
Openly hostile about Eddie Redmayne, a person who I have never met, but I am basing my opinion on chat shows, interviews, and his acting. I'm allowed to say I don't like his acting, but the rest I should have left.
Well, I don't. I really. I guess the funny part about this story is that, as if Eddie Redmayne would still be playing that character nearly a year after the show opened, because apparently I don't know this, but they have these sort of star performers who do a couple of weeks and then they bugger off.
Yeah, that's right. And then real actors, as in real West End actors, come in and do the longer contracts. So who were you watching? Can you name them?
No, I don't have a clue. There's no way I was going to buy a program. And I think apparently this is like the third cast, that there's already been quite a turnover of... And so I was...
Jessie Buckley was his Sally Bowles, wasn't she?
Yes, initially, you mean. I don't know. I didn't know who she was. I don't know who she is. Recently. But
she is, I think, an Irish actor who has been in quite a lot of stuff. She's just recently been in an Alex Garland horror film called Men.
Right. I haven't seen that either, just coincidentally.
No, that's a shame. There we go.
But so I missed Eddie. I quite like watching Eddie act. And I don't know him personally, but Eddie, if you're Eddie, anyway, if you're listening, I like you. I forget, the thing about musicals that I always forget is that they sing so much. Wait, they're singing again? What?
Yeah.
What? And something I never quite understood is, why are they dropping into song now?
Mm-hmm.
And
if you can't get your head around that, it does make musicals quite difficult.
It makes musicals. I did have a good time. I have to say, I had a good time. I had a great time, and but I did. There's that little hiccup for me where I go, yeah, I get what's happening here. Oh, they're going to take 5 minutes to keep telling me what's happening here. So there's something about, and of course this speaks volumes about my quest for efficiency. It's kind of laboured. The sort of narrative becomes laboured because of the songs, which of course is missing the point entirely of what the songs might do.
The songs are not there to make things go quicker.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the other thing was that Sally Bowles, the actor who's playing Sally Bowles, I hope she's not listening. I mean, that number at the end, Life is a Cabaret, Chums.
Oh yeah. Life is a cabaret, old chums, come to the cabaret.
That's right. That was hard for her. She couldn't really handle it vocally.
Ooh, did you have Liza Minnelli in your ears and going, I just wish...
No, my sister did, though, of course. And as we talked about it, Susan and I talked about it, it's like having this massive ghost in the room that anyone who ever sings that song has got Liza Minnelli on their shoulders. And you just can't... It'll be in the show notes because it is pretty extraordinary, Liza Minnelli's version of it. But so her voice was a little bit insipid, off key at times. So you did, and I'm not, as you know, I'm no singer, but my kind of body was wincing at the sound of it. So not the response you want at the end of the.
No. No.
They also turned it into a bit of a. It seemed to be sort of two-dimensionally. Nazis bad, these people good kind of thing, which I think my understanding from Susan was really it was much more originally a book which was more about American culture in the 60s, and so they sort of, I don't know, it felt a little bit thin.
The film's an interesting watch because it's they don't lean into the sexuality as much in the film, but I think they get the politics better than it sounds like your show did.
Well, and they didn't, and also they didn't. They sort of even touched on this guy's sexual ambivalence. It didn't. It sort of hinted at it, and then he turned into full-on heterosexual male, upset that she had an abortion.
God,
wanting to control her. It was very.
Other people do with their bodies. It's so annoying.
Yeah, it was very odd that. But yes, I did. I loved watching post Schnapp's Finn, and it was really nice to spend the evening with my family in London.
Oh, that sounds amazing! And we, of course, were in London on the same day.
We were so close.
It's bizarre. In fact, I think I was having dinner about maybe 5 minutes away from where you were watching Cabaret.
Yeah, just down by in Covent Garden there, obviously.
Yeah.
We could have bumped into each other and done a quick recording.
We could have done, but I didn't have my microphone on my person. I did have it in the hotel because I carried it with me so that I could sit in a bathroom on the floor with a towel over my head.
You are sounding quite boomy, I have to say.
I'm so sorry.
Oh.
I'm doing my best to speak in my quietest voice.
No, you're all fine, all fine. I'm sure you'll fix all that in post.
I won't. You know that as an audio engineer, I make a very good editor.
That's true. And how are you? Is there something you're thinking we need to talk about this?
Well, I had a reflection on something that I don't quite know how to talk about. And I don't know if it's a topic.
Wow.
But I'm going to try. Suella Braverman was in a Commons special committee thing, and she was being asked to speak to her immigration policy. And there was a senior Tory politician who, if this conversation makes it to the broadcast, will be in the show notes, who basically said, "Okay, take me through how a person gets supported with you under your new regulations, under your new rules."
Meaning, when you say people being supported, you mean someone trying to immigrate into the UK?
He says, he's basically somebody trying to migrate into the UK. He said, so let's pretend I am a 16-year-old African orphan. And she said, which country? And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter because I don't want the Prime Minister of the country to be upset when I name one of them. He said, in this instance, it's a fiction. I am a 16-year-old African orphan.
I'm sorry, it's not funny. It's terrible. But anyway, keep going. Oh.
And I live in a country that is persecuting me, and I am in danger. Yeah. My parents are dead. That's how orphans work. But I have a sibling who lives in the UK.
Yeah. How does it work?
I'm not from Syria. I'm not from Iran. I'm not from Ukraine. Tell me, how do I get here? And my thought was, goodness, that's a very clear question with very clear edges.
No.
I thought to myself,
Surely.
There's a story so you can understand it.
Yeah.
There's no ambiguity there. This is somebody who I can't imagine anybody would want to leave in a place where they were struggling. An orphan, they have a connection to the UK, they live under an oppressive regime.
And so they're effectively by international law allowed to say, they're an asylum seeker, I'm in danger, I'm seeking asylum, and that country, wherever that country is obliged to say welcome, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And she could not answer the question.
No.
And when she did eventually try to stumble towards an answer, she said, well, when they eventually get to the UK, and he said, I'm going to stop you there. Are you suggesting that the only way that that person can be supported and welcomed into the UK is for them to arrive as an illegal immigrant on one of the boats that you have people trained to stop? And of course the answer is yes.
Yeah.
So
it's so upsetting. It's so upsetting, isn't it?
It was such a salutary moment on multiple levels, and then it was like my psyche fractured into multiple pieces, and I could just see all the different refractive responses. So the first thing was, wow, I've got to stop thinking in binary terms of Tories bad, anybody else good, because that's not the case. This was a man who was clearly asking a very carefully framed, thoughtful question about the lives of people who we are led to believe by certain organisations the Tories don't care about. Yeah?
Yeah.
And it's important that I keep reminding myself that there's a difference between people who are Conservative Party members, people who are Conservative MPs, and people who are ministers. There's a big difference. And I forget that. So that happened, and then I also found myself caught in the absolute glee of watching Suella Braverman be, fundamentally...
She's caught with her trousers down, basically, wasn't she?
Oh, she was caught with her trousers down, they'd been folded up, they'd been pressed, they'd been sent to another house. It was like trousers no longer existed in the universe where she was standing. But then I had this moment where I thought, hang about, and bear with me for a second, because like I said, you might go, what? I also found myself going, to what extent is this being shown to me because she is a woman of colour?
Oh!
To what extent is her failure being allowed to have so much more airtime and visibility and rigorous debate because she is, quote unquote, unlikable? And I caught myself in that moment of going, I don't know how I feel about this, because I was relishing watching her struggle. And I didn't know to what extent I was relishing her struggle because she is the face of a policy that sickens me, or if I am responding on I'm responding to racist tropes within media storytelling. And I thought, who'll have an opinion? Simon Kennedy.
Oh no. Talk about being set up. Thanks for fucking nothing there, big boy. So my question, it's a really interesting problem or mess. And my question, I'll respond with a question which is, because I understand, and I also have been around, and also have been in that world, which is that anything we do and anything we see can be seen through particular filters or particular frames. And one of those frames, and it's you might say a very common frame in our world, is to look at it through the frame of racism. And my question would be, in this instance, I'm not sure it's a good question, but I'll give it a go anyway, which is, what do you gain, or what happens to that? What happens for you in that instance when you're seeing something which is quite clear in terms of the failure of a particular policy, or the clear, I'll just say the failure of the policy. What happens to you when you then place this other frame, which is the frame that possibly this is being highlighted because Suella Braverman's a woman of colour, which is a frame you wouldn't apply if it had been Boris Johnson. He's not being set up here because he's a white man. That's what you're kind of implying, right?
Yeah, and I think what I'm aware of, or what I'm clear about, is that she is not being set up in the moment. The question is a question that she should be being asked. She's
chosen to be asked those questions. If you might say, by saying yes to the role of, she's Home Office, right?
Foreign Office will deal with wars and things like that.
Thank you.
And Home Office deals with things at home. Anyway, I think that I understand that she needs to be asked these questions and
examined,
held to account and all of those things. Yeah, examined.
Yeah.
So I'm not thinking of that she's been set up. She should be reported upon, because I don't think that that's an inappropriate thing to do to a minister. I suppose the question that I am asking of myself is, am I falling into the trap of watching a particular type of news story about a particular type of figure and enjoying it a little bit too much because it's been selected as part of a, it's just, when I try to frame it, I start to sound paranoid.
Well, just put it in then just go, what if it were Keir Starmer, who's the Minister of the Home Office, or whatever it is, the Secretary for Home Office, and the same thing was going on. Do you feel the same things? Do you feel it differently? Just in a rather bizarre thought experiment.
Yeah, no, I understand that. No, and I don't. And I think the question is this: would Keir Starmer have landed on my Instagram feed in the same way? I guess that's what I mean. There we go. I've got to the question. Thank you. That was really helpful, Simon. It's an algorithmic thing about the type of politicians who I see being coruscated tend to look a lot like Suella Braverman or like Priti Patel, and it might well be that for the first time in a long time the cabinet has been made up of huge cultural and social and racial diversity, and that's a good thing? Question mark. I mean, it's a good thing. The principle is a good thing, but the people I don't think are good people.
Yeah.
Both in terms of their ability to do the job, and I actually think perhaps I do mean morally and ethically. Maybe I am, just saying from what they present in the world. And let's be honest, if I'm going to be critical about Eddie Redmayne holding himself in a particular way on Graham Norton, I should probably be as robust in my critique. The question that I'm catching myself against is the visibility of the report. Is, that's what it is.